according to the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO. 58 residents of the Pampamsu No. 1 have been rendered homeless following the demolition of over a dozen houses in the community by land guards. NADMO says its assessment of the situation established 15 households were demolished. They said illegal demolition infuriated community members who spontaneously moved to block the main Accra-Kumasi highway to express their outrage. Eastern Regional Police Public Relations Officer DSP Ebenezer Tete says the police have since taken control of the situation. DSP Ebenezer Tete called on residents to remain calm and trust the police to ensure justice. We now have on the line the Ochiami of Pampamsu No. 1, Ochiami Atibu, for an update of the demolition. Good afternoon. Hello.
Yeah.
Nana Yadao say why do you fail so near Bekasa on GBC News? Near the kind Pachobe to me catch a number of houses are bubu so far, and then maybe number of people to affected.
Okay. So yeah, Danya, what you did Martin, and then Maba Moya. Now, Danya almost bought what is here, no, 9/11, and Nipa, a woman who the Nipa of the person. A dino, I said, 11, and yes, sir, Dima, pay 11, and if you any back for my time or hobby 4. A base of where hobby 10. And if you 11 there, I must say, now, if I don't mind, what fear no a dozen. I need a number, a walk, Miss Pano, every 100. If you're more, I'm here.
Ochami, da ben SMC ena munya enitiye se bibi say besiana.
About your assembly, a year, Pesienta, Emmanuel, Anado, Anna, and now, means here, Mr. Marcus said, I have given you a crack. Now, Obia said, I say, I sit of the tea, Obedi, you do what says. If you say, I believe I said, Germany. Na papa bi a yɛfrɛ no afram a ɔwɔ achimota a ɔyɛ philosophy ho adwuma nti ebi a obi anim sɛ afram glass ɔno na ɔde ɛnentie bi ba mehɔ mu anim ɛyɛ nana mankata the fifth a wawu wafiri mu sesei late na ɔno ana ɔbaa n'anim ne bɛkae sɛ ofi akwade da beto na nim se na busua wa asase bi enti ono na mankata no enhwe no ye ho adwuma no na mankata ka je nse wate enti onfa ho ka ta no na onhwe na o de side friend le ba ya na ya ye na fufuro na mankata hwe mu ni bukuye no ka ho asem se efa na ba ye no enye makoje futi asase na ye nim ba bi akoje futi asase no edu ena ne kese na sai plan odi aba no enye kodwofo so asase ekese so ena odi aba no nti onji nti onye bibi aba no na oka asase no odi yem fato ho se papa bi wo ho a ewo kodwofo so ko mu a ye fe na na adisi emra na adisi be ye na asase ho adwuma no a odi sai plan be fe no be ho mpanimfo edi tu wo banim na ohwehwe mu hu se eye no korɛ na na de so di adanse kire ba bi o ma saase ekesi edu enti ni odi aba no enye ko bi fusu kwa saase e na odi aba no enti onye ma no insana na asemi
enti say what bo kojo fosu bi din enti say who suspect say e be free kojo fosu so ana
kojo fosu na me bo din o hoda ku bia pa ko bi enti asase a eye kojo fosu kwa saase no eye asase ba ko na ye nina no mo ti ten asase ne man ankra Enti obia or baby na sa sekin. No be ntra nko obi di. Enti kwadwofo so for de beti number 1 baby. Na number 1 so for no de no aka boma to aso akosi baby. Saa na ti ankwankwe. Na enu achi no a me wolumu a ye mankata de chief ni wi ye no. The 6 ne betra so ne mu. Na esan start bi. Na Kofi Akwa no e be se ordinance akoka we ne ama. Ordinance akoka we na wa woni we wa woni we. The friend ne kasa. Me ankasa mu no e otia music. Me ni hia na me ka je se wolumu akasa ase bu a kire. Na o ka je me so bebe fi ama ya tena ase. Na odi abuhia ni na akasa amanti ase ye duma. Enti onye bibia bi. Enu achi no de be ti se oyin no Kofi Akwa ni se gwanya judgment. Ibo asase option. Eye court, eye tema court, ebo asase option ama no. Enti yo wo kan se utime pass asase no. Na ye nyeka ta bia so wo court ho. Ya nti bibia. Enu achi ne ti se sa di nti waton asase ni dia ma. China mine. Kisana na asabani.
And they say Pampas number 1. Mpacho, who does that land belong to? The land belongs to. Why would dia?
Pampas number 1 asase no. Eye na mankata asase. Nanso na mankata wo abufian kranpre a omo asase no so. But honum nyina ye na mankata asase.
Na ya titi say land guards for na omobubu dan a ewo Pampas number 1. Me pa ocho yampa na munia ewo behind it.
Nipa na e ba no. Omo amma awia. Na ma me wo friend say wodi san adwuma no wo number 1 na ebu dan no. Na eye anadu 240. Pepe na wo friend me. E di kan sa 70 na se na omo tie no emre amemi ko bi woni se nipa ne ba no omo for main transformer S7 ko ni light no e ko tu fi na di bu fom enti ko ne ko sum na sa tab no na omo beru nipa no so enti ye bo dan na upia na e di ti agina wo so nipa na hye mat na ye yi wapie ye ma wo fa hwe enti te upie ya wo frantoma eno na wo di bepie na ye bubu dan na go ni ama no so.
And they say the assembly police case. And see a day now police for a catcher mo.
Yeah. Near police for a catcher, not assembly. Yeah, they are put my high court for. Yes, you should. Dada. And son of Kofi Akwa or the court Chevy police station. So, and now, another year, and I didn't never got to see our. And the brother in New Year, and Sana almost uncle yes, I do. And then Tim, you knew that a Kofi Akwa and a Kokoyana. In the inquiry, I can't know. This argument. A year, brother Nano, yet see in Palanibi, brother Nano, and to think Palanibi.
Senayachino. How many people have been arrested so far? Nipa ina police. Okay. Okay, na say not move for ba mo hon mo na.
E ba jo not move for ba ha, police point penfo abba aha. Ani abe kasa abe kenya abe na. Kamu not move aba. MC aba, ona bu franga no de aba. Emra waba bu abusia ko no. Cement 250 bags. Iron sheet 20 packets. Ika 20,000, 200 million. And many me ayo pan kese de be bo awon. Umbetini anya baby absent answer. How na
You Chairman no be finally say asema police case Pampanso number 1 mo leaders no next line of action then na we
say there nya ye kuso aye kan say ye no ye ni bibia bebeye e say ye ko ye bibi mane go so ana ka say ye de mra na say ye enti aban paninku a wo kasa wo no bi dwam no e na ye ka kira mo se wo nyina ye moa na asemu ye nhwehwe mu ye na ye hu no kura bi ye wo e bi se me hine e ye nana man kasa de 6 aka se onto asase mu obi ye aye onto asase mu Kofi Akwa na onto asase so ma China mine na onye document bi anso e mo obi ye aye documents are from the buy, no, 5 grand or the buy, and a whole MOU, Kufiakwa, the lawyer, a year lawyer, many, prepare one crime. Yeah, me, a year, Nana Mansapa the 6th, air for many in the point. Because who MOU, the point JD Hunkobo, the cassette impending for, and the Adeko, near a money, and the addition the element market was. MOU on Popet at the house. The attendant in that war, police station was TV. Cyclone also attendant police station was TV. Ochina, Yami Aduma, yes, I'm about to share with TV who be. Except Nano and Raya, who are there, a memory that you're going. Kofi Apano, the lawyer and the buy. In Peniphonica, I said, almost no lawyer and the announcement on almost Kofi Apana, and the on in Emra. I shall TV. I am quite similar. And in Senamena, no means to be new. There, obey and cast, maybe I will be. And we shall be no more than one dancing. He will be beside. No, my dear, to say, China mine, and I could fear Pano, and I'm on Kata the 6 higher documents among them.
Yo, Nan Ochami Yedasi, and that was the Ochami of Pampa Sun #1, and he's been explaining to us or giving us some details on the demolition exercise that took place at Pampa Sun, and he said that it is a land dispute between one Kofi Akwa and the chief of Pampa Sun #1, Nana Mankata, and the case is already in court in Tema, but some people came, land guards, as he said, came there and demolished about 11 households. Some of the households contain about 10 buildings or structures on the compound, and he says that now the police has taken over, so they are waiting what the police will say. And NADMO too has come to the area and provided some sort of relief items to the people of Pampa Sun #1. We'll follow up this story and bring you detailed reports in our subsequent bulletins. It's still live on GBC News, and this is News Hour. Data from the Ghana Prison Service show that 7,181 people who carry conviction records have been admitted back to the prisons between 2015 and 2020. The report says the phenomenon of recidivism has been rising since 2015, even though there was a drop in 2020. The line is the Chief Public Relations. On the line is the Chief Public Relations Officer at the Ghana Prison Service, Chief Superintendent Courage Atim, to tell us more. Hello, good afternoon, CSP Atim.
Good afternoon, madam.
Yeah, this is a staggering. Is this staggering statistics true? Is this nationwide?
I'm sorry, your line is not too clear here.
Hello?
Hello, yes.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for joining us on News Hour.
Good afternoon, madam.
Yeah, I was asking that, is this staggering statistics true, and is it nationwide?
Yes, it is a nationwide statistic, but as we put out there, yes.
So what reasons do the convicts give for going back into crime?
All right, thank you very much. First of all, let me say that I do not really have the total compilation of all the annual reports or annual statistics put out there, but I have the annual report of 2018 before me, and the figures put out there, especially related to the 2018, is accurate, and therefore I stand to reason that the others may also be largely accurate. Let me clarify that the report puts together second offenders and recidivists. So second offenders are those with a previous conviction, and recidivists are those with more than one previous conviction. Okay, so putting that together is what gives the figure as 1,680 for 2018, and that's correct. Now, you're asking of what the reasons the inmates give. I must say that we have not conducted any empirical study to come up with some scientific basis for this, but from my experience, our interaction with the inmates, we have some factors we can point to. One is the fact that I think it stands to admit that as a nation, our reformation and rehabilitation programs for inmates have not been adequate and effective enough, resulting out of inadequate infrastructure and logistics provision aimed at reforming our inmates. Another factor we can also look at is unduly long sentences. Now, when people are given unduly long sentences, it also serves as a disincentive for them to engage themselves in any rehabilitative programs. Because somebody in prison would want to use their skills, whatever training he receives after release. So if the sentence is so long, it discourages them from taking part in some of those programs. And then the last, but very, very critical, is societal rejection and stigmatization of ex-convicts. Some of our, compatriots go out of prison and intentionally go to commit crime and want to come back simply because they do not find conducive atmosphere upon discharge. They are stigmatized, they are rejected, and the only option for them will be to go back to crime. There have been instances where people have been released and they intentionally walk back to the prison to say, I want to come back here. There have been instances where people are told in prison of their release in 2 or 3 weeks' time and they begin to cry instead of feeling happy, simply because they do not know where they'll be going after discharge. So these are some of the challenges that we believe are some of the contributing factors to the fact that some of our inmates go out and come back to custody.
All right, then, but they also say that conditions in the various prisons across the country are not the best. So why will they go back and commit a crime to come back to prison, even if they face stigmatization and society? So does this situation bring the reformation process in the prisons into question?
Well, in a way, it does. So as I mentioned earlier, it means that our programs are not adequate and effective enough. So as a nation, we need to pay more attention to our prison service to make it more rehabilitative and reformative.
So how can the prison service help with the reintegration of prisoners?
All right, so the prison administration at the moment is coming up with a program which is aimed at giving further skills to inmates who have received some skills in custody before they finally go on discharge. And so that is a program termed as Prisons Industrial Village, where we are seeking support to be able to put up this village where inmates who might have received some skills, some training in some employable skills in their facility, prison custody, would be moved to this industrial village where they'll be further engaged, trained, and engaged as factory hands or workers, where they will even earn some skills and some income to go out on the study, so that when they go out, they will be able to establish themselves to fend for themselves. So this is program by the prison administration, and I think that it's a good opportunity for me. I don't want to call on corporate bodies, public spaces, and individuals to come on board, support the Ghana Prison Administration to be able to come out with this project, and I'm sure that Ghana will be the better for it.
Thank you very much, sir, for your time. We've been speaking to the PRO of the Ghana Prison Service, Chief Superintendent Courage Atim. Meanwhile, an ex-convict who spoke on condition of anonymity shared his experience on why prisoners return and why the system hardens alleged criminals instead of the needed reformation. He spoke on GTV Breakfast.
I spent 18 months there, and As for the returning back of inmates, it was like something that was done like every month, because when they come out from prison, there are no work for them to do, nothing good for them to do. Most times they are rejected by family, and that same crime that took them to that place, they have to indulge in it again, and the law catch up with them and they are brought back. Whilst I was there for the 18 months, there was a guy who came there like 4 times, and I asked him, why? What's going on with you? Why do you keep going and coming? You don't have a place to stay. He said, no, I don't have good food to eat outside. But if someone is to give you anything, they have to insult you being an ex-convict before they give to you. So it was like an experience he just felt like he can't continue with. That's what was luring him into those crimes, just to become independent. But unfortunately, the law catches up with him all the time. Right now, in prison, this tramadol stuff is like everyone has access to tramadol. Everyone has access to weed, even down to appetition, and stuff like that. So it's like you are going there to even become worse. The recreational center part of it is totally out. It's taken off from the whole context right now. So going there is 2 things. It's either I want to go there, either over what took me to that place, and make an amends, not to concentrate on what has taken me to that place, or I'm going there and get worse. Because when you go there to the prison, one of the most dangerous part of it is they put all the criminals together. Let me not say criminals now. They put all the, I call them the prison inmates all together. Those hardcore criminals, those who stole yam, those who stole plantain, who stole chicken, and those who went for real armed robbery. They put them together. There was a guy who was seated just by some guys. And I saw him lecturing some little boy on how to hold an AK-47, how to operate the gun, and he was just drawing it on the floor. I was like, is this supposed to be a recreational center? Or just trying to add to your own experience? When you go out, if you're a young killer, you have to go into the burglary or go for armed robbery or highway or whatever and so on. So it was very bad.
Acknowledging the high rate of recidivism in the country, a criminologist, Dr. Jones Opoku-Wari, on GTV Breakfast today said Ghana's justice system involves more of retribution rather than reformation and cognitive training. He agrees that our prisons ought to have the right form of reformation structure to reduce the chances of recidivism, the tendency of a convicted criminal to offend the law again. Dr. Opoku-Wari spoke on the implications of prisoners returning to prison.
Our prison system is not able to properly reform people who have been incarcerated, people who offend and are taken out of the street. In many areas across the world, what happens is that when somebody offends, and the person is incarcerated, the prison system is designed in such a way that the person undergoes certain reformative processes. Because the end in sight is that whatever happens, many of these people, even people who have been sentenced to life imprisonment, at some point in time can receive parole or some kind of pardon along the line. So it is expected that the prison system is designed in such a way that once a person goes in, there is that kind of reformative approaches that are deployed so that the person is reformed, and by the time the person comes back and reintegrates into the society, the person does not go back into the old life that the person lived, which actually sends him into prison. And now you can see that with the kind of prison system we operate, I see it more of a retributive approach that we use. The essence is to punish you and make you feel that you can punish. When we don't really focus on reforming the prisoner, and I think that is the problem, which causes some of these guys to come in and then reoffend and have to now send back. What we normally forget is that a person's, tendency to commit a crime is sometimes behavioral and innate. So our focus should not only be about giving them skills, but it should be about also reforming them, which is that behavioral modification aspect. Helping them to be able to change their thought processes and their behavior, their cognitive processes, so that the decision that results in them committing crime, when they come out, they will not go through that kind of decision-making process.
The National Conference of Principals of Colleges of Education, Ghana, PRINCOF, has erected the teachers trainees to start funding their own feeding from May 8. This directive is in response to the inability of colleges of education to make payments for food items supplied to them. According to Prinkov, food suppliers who had continued delivering supplies to these colleges of education for months without payment have finally withdrawn their services till they receive the monies owed them. In view of this, trainee teachers will be provided with 2 meals, breakfast and supper only for 1 week from April 23 to April 30, 2022. From May 1 to May 8, 2022, trainee teachers shall be given lunch only. After May 8, trainee teachers will be asked to provide their own meals until their feeding allowances have been paid. According to Prinkov, these measures are meant to ensure that there is no disruption of the academic calendar. The Public Procurement Law 2003 Act 663 guides the process of public procurement in the public service. This law attempts to fight corruption by ensuring transparency and fairness in the procurement processes. Given the huge role public expenditure plays in the economy and a tendency for abuse of public funds by officials, public procurement as a magnet for corruption has become a critical issue that has to be explored in the fight against corruption. Imani Ghana today outdoored a research report on the challenges of procurement in Ghana. On the line is a research consultant at Imani, Mr. Dennis Asari, to tell us more. Good afternoon, Mr. Asari, and thank you so much for joining us on News Hour.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Mr. Asari, can you give us highlights of the report on the challenges of procurement in Ghana?
Thank you very much. So if you look at generally what the report sought to do was to understand the drivers of public procurement irregularities despite the huge sums of money we spent in reforming the sector. The Auditor General estimates that in the last 10 years, procurement irregularities recorded are about 143 million Ghana cedis, and 115 million out of that were recorded between 2016 and 2020, a period where we amended the legislation and even implemented an electronic procurement platform. The main drivers of procurement irregularities and factors affecting effective procurement in Ghana is that there's lack of enforcement of the procurement law. Public institutions are breaching the law and nothing is happening. And it's because we have failed to apply the sanctions in the Act and punish people for wrongdoing. That is why this culture of tolerance for abuse of the PPE Act continues to persist. Another factor we also identified was that there is a weak internal audit system. That is, the internal auditors that are supposed to provide some breaks and ensure quality assurance in government spending within the public institutions. These internal auditors do not have actionable effects on the business. So they see transactions going through the business, but they can't stop the transaction. So what happens is that people commit government already, we lose money before we go back to correct the errors. So consistently, when people abuse the law, these internal auditors are able to stop the process. Another issue too is that the internal controls, like the entity tender committees, that their composition do not lend them to be independent. Majority of the members are from the institution, and it is very hard for a particular institution's members to hold themselves accountable. Other issues we identified is that the electronic platform that is supposed to ensure transparency and enhance accountability in public procurement. 76% of public institutions are not using the electronic platform, in spite of the over $10 million we spend in building the system. So all of these factors combined with a lack of ethics and professionalism in the practice of procurement in Ghana to lead to the increased procurement irregularities we see from the Auditor General's report.
So from all the factors that you've mentioned, would it be right to say that Ghana's procurement law has failed? to meet its
so
mandate?
We wouldn't say that it has failed. The law is designed in line with international best practice, but in terms of its practice, we have failed to enforce it and ensure that public institutions comply. And the only way to ensure public institutions comply with the law is to apply the full sanctions stated in the law.
So what recommendations are you suggesting to sanitize the procurement process in the country?
So first, what we are recommending is that the use of the Ghana electronic procurement system must be mandatory so that citizens like you and I can track how public institutions are spending our money through procurement. Secondly, internal auditors should be empowered to be able to take actionable effect on the business when a particular transaction is suspicious. Another recommendation is that it is time for us to review the composition of the entity tender committees. Then again, we should also empower the due diligence unit in the PPE to conduct independent assessment that tries to identify the errors or some pitfalls surrounding certain transactions in order to reduce the extent to which that people commit government before we come back to address the issues. Then lastly, we should harmonize all the procurement qualification institutions or certification agencies, bring them together, get a codified standard of ethics to guide the practice of procurement in Ghana.
Thank you very much, sir, for your time. And Mr. Dennis Asari is a research consultant at Imani. Costa Rica's Vice President, Madame Epsi Campbell-Barr, is in the country for the United Nations Return Mission for Afro-Descendants Forum scheduled for Friday, April 22, 2022 in Accra. It is a platform to discuss some pressing problems facing people of African descent in the diaspora and the impact of COVID-19 on the Afro-descendant population. Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Baumia and the Executive Director of the United Nations Population Fund, Dr. Natalia Kanem, are part of the meeting.
The UN General Assembly in December 2020 approved and proclaimed that the 31st of August of every year is International Day for People of African Descent. Costa Rica collaborated with United Nations Population Fund and the Office of UN High Commissioner on Human Rights to organize a series of events to celebrate the first edition in Costa Rica, to which Ghana was invited. Ghana put on display her rich legacy and culture as part of her contributions to the development of people of African descent and the development of societies all around the world. The same gesture has been returned to Ghana as the UN Under Secretary General and Executive Director of UNFPA, Dr. Natalia Kanem, in her role as the UN Secretary General's designee, is championing the Afro-Descendants agenda, which Accra is hosting. Vice President of Costa Rica, Madame Epsi Campbell-Barr, will visit some historic destinations in the country while here and engage with people of African descent with critical partners such as donor communities, CSOs, and line ministries.
We're going to work a lot and to feel a lot that Ghana want to give us and that we want to give you as people of African descent, as Costa Rica.
The Executive Director of UNFPA, Dr. Natalia Kanem, said her outfit will leverage on new technologies and new media to deploy innovative programs targeted at Afro-descendants, especially women and girls. It is especially to help restore and preserve their rights, dignity, equality, sexuality, and fertility to realize their potentials.
This is a moment where every child of African descent can take great pride in their heritage, can know that Africa is on the stage leading, to make a space for women farmers to finally have that sense of safety and security.
Key expectations from the forum will be an understanding of pertinent international conference on population and development thematic areas requiring high-level commitment and resolution, and potential trade and investment opportunities for the mutual benefit of people of African descent, particularly women, within the strategic framework of the African Continental Free Trade Area.
The climax of the training of about 1,000 girls in basic information and communication technology (ICT) and coding skills to help build an inclusive digital environment for everyone in the country is currently underway in Techiman, the Borno East regional capital. The girls selected from 11 districts in the region benefited from the Girls in ICT program being implemented by the Ministry of Communications and Digitalization with funding support from MTN Ghana and other partners. Our Borno East regional correspondent Samuel Ayama joins us live for an update. Samuel, you said this is a climax, which means this is the end of the training. What is the mood of the beneficiaries and what should we expect after the training?
Thank you very much, Seyoko. The training exercise has ended successfully here in Techiman, the Borno East Regional Capital. As we speak, the dignitaries, those who graced the occasion, the students who benefited from the program, they've all dispersed, and based on my observation, I would say it was a successful exercise because the mood, the atmosphere, everyone who participated in this program were happy about how the whole thing went. And with me here is one of the coordinators from the Nkranza North District Directorate of Education. Madam, tell me, what's your observation? How did the thing go based on your observation?
Thank you very much. Good
Tell us your
afternoon
name.
to your watchers.
Yes.
My name is Jalila Ture, the IT coordinator for Nkranza North District Education Directorate. Yeah. Fortunately for this program, I was able to become a facilitator for the Girls in ICT. It's a program that is organized by the Ministry of Communication and Digitalization and supported by GFEC, MTN Ghana, and other partners. The purpose of it is to introduce the IT to the girl child, since a lot of girls do shine from ICT. It is used with an application called the Scratch, which is used with coding blocks to make some games, animation, and then some storytelling. In all, the program started 3 weeks ago. And then in the Nkranza North District, we are the second cohort. We started our own, that is last week. And then we ended on the 14th of April. God being so good, we have some of the awards. We have some of the girls who have never touched the computer before. We never had some of them who have never even seen the computer before. But as a result of this program, they were able to come along with it. And then at least we had some of the awards being given.
Okay. So let me come to you. You are the public relations officer for the Nkranza North District Directorate for Education. How is your outfit in terms of sustaining this with your other staff?
Thank you very much. I'm Richard Bafo-Opoku. Richard Bafo-Opoku. We believe that once they have rolled out such program, it is very, very, very important, and we intend widening the scope of the project by getting on board those who didn't have the opportunity to participate in the exercise. We also intend by conveying the kids from the schools having no ICT item to schools with laptops or computer accessories to have access, touch, and feel them. And we believe by so doing, they will get used to the ICT equipment, and also encourage the parents to monitor the activities of their wards when they get used to the mobile phones. I believe that the director, Nana Techua, is bent on organizing competitions for the kids, and those who excel in such activities will be rewarded, and organize series of workshops for teachers, and it will sharpen their skills for effective delivery and academic excellence of the kids.
Thank you very much. Madam, your final words, what is your advice to the parents and the kids, those who benefited and those who are yet to also benefit from these?
My advice or my suggestion is they should encourage their wards. Every parent should encourage her wards to try things that are not in their field. You know, when we started selecting them, some were shying away. When they just heard the word IT, they were just shying away. But when they came, they realized that IT is something very basic. We use our mobile phone with IT and other things. So if they come on board and support their case to develop their capabilities, they will know that IT is not difficult for the girl child. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The program here, as I mentioned earlier, ended successfully. The baton has been handed to the Bono region, where 1,000 girls are also going to benefit from the Girls in ICT program under the Ministry of Communication and Digitization. For GBC News, Samuel Ayama, Techimai, Bono East Regional Capital.
Thank you very much, Samuel Ayama. He came through with a report on girls in ICT in the Bono East region. You're still watching News live on GBC News. We'll be right back with the business segment. Please stay on.
It's a nightmare dealing with
Good afternoon. You're still watching the news live on GBC News. We bring you some business updates now. Ghana's economy grew at its fastest pace in 2 years in 2021, following an impressive performance in the fourth quarter. Gross domestic product rose 5.4% last year from a revised 0.5% in 2020, when movements were restricted to curb the spread of COVID-19. The 5.4% growth topped expectations of the government and the International Monetary Fund.
Ghana's economy has seen consistent growth after contracting in the second and third quarters of 2020. GDP grew 7% in the fourth quarter of 2021, compared with a revised 6.5% in the previous quarter. This was driven by growth in the agriculture and services sectors. The annualized rate of 5.4% in 2021 pushes Africa's top gold producer closer to its pre-pandemic growth levels. The Ghana cedi has struggled against the US dollar year to date, depreciating by about 17%. That's coupled with supply chain disruptions induced by the war in Ukraine, pushed inflation to a 12-year high in March. But the government has since rolled out measures to ease investor disquiet about its fiscal plans. The central bank has also increased its benchmark interest rate by 3.5% since November in a bid to tame inflation. Meanwhile, producer price inflation for March 2022 was 29.3%.
And Bismarck Osei is an economist. He joins us via phone with some more understanding on this particular story. Good afternoon to you, Bismarck.
Yeah, good afternoon to everyone, and everyone also listening to us.
Right. So, can you help us understand the factors that spurred growth in the fourth quarter?
Please, can you speak if I cannot hear you your way?
I'm saying, let me understand the factors that spurred the growth in the fourth quarter.
The factor that led the growth in 2021.
Yes, in the fourth quarter of 2021.
I thank you so much. As Randy said, after the COVID-19 restrictions in 2022, it's quite elemental to understand that when these restrictions were eased, we saw that the agri sector and the industrial sector efficiently contributed so monumental to the growth in the sector we have here. And still out of this, I believe it takes a renaissance to the performance of the agri sector. Since this government came in, some measures they have put down, the practical measures like planning for food and job, running for food and job, Ghana commodity exchange, the Ghana incentive rate system, lending, and this agricultural system have made the agri sector play a very pivotal role when it comes to this growth. And at the first time in 36 years, we have seen that they have experienced trade surplus. In 2017 was 1.1 billion. In 2018, 1.3 and 1.9. So agri sector actually is the agri sector and the service sector playing a very stable effect in this growth we experienced in that period.
5.4% growth last year, 2021. What would that mean to international investors, especially around this time that they are concerned about the fundamentals, our fiscal space?
I did say, what does it mean to the international market?
Sure, the international market.
Yeah, of course, as you already said, the international market takes these economic indicators into consideration. They make them into their system of thinking and see whether it's very right for them to see. It guides the approvals when it comes to decision making. If the government can consistently show some sort of positive stability when it comes to this performance. If that can be this performance can be very consistent, then it's going to take advantage for the level of investment and now have a pass-through dynamic effect.
Right. Finally, before I let you go, is this year going to be different, or the challenges we're having in the first quarter are actually going to affect growth throughout the year 2022?
Yes, as you say, yes, I foresee some headwinds ahead. See that the geographical political tension in Russia and Ukraine, you are not seeing any state of tranquility coming in. So the economic and agricultural value chain is affected, the rare commodity shocks is affected. There's a sort of structural rigidity is affecting all those countries. And if this issue of this does not come to decision, then we can say that this will have a pass through some sort of a more specific on the economy. We're hoping that it will come to end. And into the African Exim Bank have given us a trade financial system, a financial facility of $4 billion for 54 African countries. I think we can take advantage of that facility and try to stimulate our for grow up young business, as we are hoping that the geopolitical tension in Russia and Ukraine will come to a state of tranquility.
Right. Thank you very much. And Bismarck Osei is an economist there. And this is how we wrap up business at this hour. The news will continue after this break. Stay with us.
There are strong